And good morning, everybody, and welcome again to Seaverk's Saturday Morning Radio School. And this week, Brad Ormsby, W6VO, is going to talk about our linked repeater networks that are available to us in this area. A bit about how they work, what you can do with them, why you would use them, why you wouldn't. And I'll turn it over to Brad.
All right. Good morning, one and all. It appears that I'm probably speaking to the choir, but maybe we'll have others view the video, which is great to have. Yeah, I think I'll start it out by giving you a couple of objectives of the talk, and it's obvious to get some information out there about some of our linked systems. But maybe more than that, get more people on the repeaters. It's, by the way, okay. It's not mentioned in Part 97, but it's okay to have repeaters, radios on 24/7 in your house. And if you sleep in the car as well. I tend to leave at least 3 radios on 24/7. Right now, I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different radios on, and I'm monitoring different systems. So I think the more people that have their radios on, they're more apt to get on the air, which is maybe one of my objections, or one of the things I'd like to accomplish, one of my objectives. And then also maybe to give you some direction on where to go to get additional information, and try to, like I said, answer some questions about some of the local systems. So first of all, I'm sure everybody in the room here has a UHF and VHF handheld. Is that fair to say? Yeah, okay. And who has, well, everybody's been on local repeaters. That's good. Who has a UHF and or a VHF in the car? Oh, okay. So we've got one that must be a handheld taken in. Well, it's okay to have mobile radios in there. It's really great for emergency purposes to be all wired up and ready to go. And I would encourage that. Years ago, it's hard to believe, but the Bozo system, along with others, people were on all the time. You could be at home listening or in the car, and there was always chitter chatter going. And, you know, it'd be great if we could approach that again. We all know what a repeater is, so I won't go over that, but they're obviously needed when we can't reach somebody via simplex. And a little bit of history that I was told as to where it all started. Back in the 50s, a gentleman by the name of Art Gentry, W6MEP, who is a silent key now, lived in Northridge and is credited with developing the first practical repeater. And it was an AM repeater, and it was on Mount Lee. So that's kind of where it all started. You all are familiar with Bozo, obviously, and the Grissom repeater and the MGIM repeater. They're just a few of the local repeaters that are not linked to anything. They're just standalones. And so whatever the range is that you are with in relationship to that repeater, and what that transmitter will actually transmit is what you really get. I'm going to talk to you about a few different link systems. One of them is going to be the Rabbit radio network, and the Cactus intertie system. There's CalNet. There's the Condor connection. Papa system, the Wind system, the Gronk system, the Darn system. And I'll kind of outline what each one does. They all are linked systems. For the most part, they're all private systems. A private system might mean you become a member and you might pay, say, $120 a year to be a member of it. And then you're welcome to use it as much as you see fit. Each system has a little different footprint because the repeaters are on different mountains. So obviously, you're going to have a little different area. I was hoping Warren was going to be on today. I actually talked to him. He's up in the mountains, up at his cabin in Arrow Bear. And this is kind of a good example of, you know, when and where and why and how you might use a link system. So I talked to him last night on the Rabbit system. And he's kind of in an area where he can get into one repeater, but he can't hear that repeater very well. So he has to toggle to another repeater to get the audio back to himself. But we had a conversation last night, right from his cabin down here to Westlake Village. And that's all done through the networking of the link systems. Maybe just a little bit on the technical side of how the linked systems work. As you all know, there's a repeater on a mountaintop, which accepts that signal from your handheld or your mobile radio and then retransmits it on a different frequency. So a link system, you would do the same thing, but there would be a controller up on the mountaintop. And that controller would then hook up to another radio that has a transmitter and a receiver, and it would transmit your signal to another mountaintop. At that mountaintop would have a transmitter and receiver that would accept that linked signal, and then through its controller, patch it into the local area repeater for that mountaintop. So as you can see, you've got one radio to receive on a repeater on mountain A. You have a link repeater. You have another link repeater at the other mountain and another repeater. So there's what, 4 different radios right there to make that happen. So if you then have another link repeater from mountain B and you link it up to mountain C with another repeater, well, you've just added a few more radios. So it gets pretty complex. And then all of those radios typically need duplexers or cans to protect the inputs and the outputs so you don't overload stuff and everything nice happens. So, and we could, you know, we can talk a little bit more about that, but I didn't want to go into too much detail, but let me talk about the Rabbit system first. The Rabbit system has a repeater up on Rasno, and that is connected to San Ynez, which is Santa Barbara. It's also connected to Sunset. It's connected to Burnt Peak, and it's connected to Chatsworth. So if you can just envision that repeater up there, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different linked radios. It's got the repeater itself. And well, I just mentioned 4. The fifth one is a connection into another repeater network system, which is called the Cactus system. So it's a fairly complex system. Like I said, the locations, we have one up in Big Bear. So once again, when I'm up at my cabin, it's like an intercom between Thousand Oaks and the cabin. There's Quartzsite, Burnt Peak, Chatsworth Peak, Sunset, Palos Verdes, and Santa Ynez. So if you think of those mountaintops, the footprint that it covers is pretty wide. Now the Rabbit system's fairly quiet, not that many members, but it has lots of capabilities. Everybody that is a member of the Rabbit system is also a control operator for that system. And at each mountaintop, there's different toys, we'll call them, but they're actually remotes. For instance, in Chatsworth, in Palos Verdes, and Big Bear, and Santa Ynez, there are 2-meter remotes. So once again, we're talking a UHF closed private system, which then ties into 2-meter frequencies. So let's just say I'm up in Big Bear and I want to get into the bozo repeater. Well, there's no way in heck that I'm going to be able to hit it from Big Bear. So what I would do is I would go into Big Bear, I would go to Chatsworth repeater, I would turn on bozo, and then I would be at my cabin in Big Bear talking through the bozo repeater. So that's a kind of a neat little area that you can do. There's all the local repeaters that Chatsworth can see are available. There's, I think, 32 is the maximum number that you can program in. Well, you can do the same thing in Palos Verdes. So whatever Palos Verdes can see in the 2-meter world, you can also program that. Thousand Oaks has a 6-meter remote on it. So I can be up, once again, up in Big Bear and go through the Thousand Oaks machine and come out on a 6-meter repeater. And all of that is programmable by pushing codes, transmitting, pushing codes, and hooking up the repeaters accordingly. You can have Thousand Oaks turned off from the entire system and use Thousand Oaks just as an individual repeater. Or you can latch it up to just Palos Verdes. So for emergency purposes or for events like bicycle runs and things like that, we'll turn different repeaters off and on, links off and on. So it has quite a bit of capability. So while I'm talking about Rabbit, an affiliate of Rabbit is the Cactus system. The Cactus system is a much bigger system. Now, if you can see this book, this is the Cactus book. And in this Cactus book are all the mountaintops and all the codes that one can use to program the repeaters the way you want. I opened up Tucson downtown, and I can turn links off and on from here. I can go out through their remotes if they have one. So, I mean, you know, we're talking a whole bunch of mountaintops here and a lot of capabilities. Also in here, because I said Rabbit is an affiliate, is all of the Rabbit codes. So the whole Rabbit system is in here. And let me jump ahead. I'm also a member of the DARN system, which stands for Disaster Amateur Radio Network. And that is another system that you don't have quite as much programming available to you. I mean, it's in here, but DARN is also an affiliate of the Cactus system. So by being a member of Rabbit or DARN, you're also an affiliate member of the Cactus system, or you can join the Cactus system direct. The local Cactus frequencies or repeaters. The local one is Saddle Peak. And so there's lots of repeaters up on Saddle Peak. So, so the rabbit and the cactus, there's a lot of codes, a lot of controlling that you can actually do as a member. I might come back to all those, but I'll move on. CalNet is another closed system. I am not a member. I'm a member, by the way, of Rabbit, Cactus, Papa, and Gronk, and Darn. So I've got membership in several of them. I do not have one in CalNet. They have a repeater up in Thousand Oaks, up on Rasno, and they've got, I think, probably 3 or 4 other repeaters. Once again, that's a fairly quiet system, and the local amateur that takes care of the Thousand Oaks is John Grimaldi, N6NHJ, if anybody knows John. Then we have the Condor system, which is a 220 machine. I don't get on that very often, but that used to run up and down the state of California. That is open, as I recall, and you can get on at any old time and make that connection. Let me talk about the Papa system. The Papa system is one where you don't do too much controlling like you do the Rabbit and the Cactus systems, but they have analog and they have a bunch of digital modes. They've got DMR, they've got D-Star, they've got P25, and they have a bridge where you can go into a repeater system with whatever radio you have and be able to talk to somebody else. In other words, you might be on D-Star and you could talk to somebody on analog. So that's kind of nifty. They are very active. It's very, there's a lot of chatter on that one. They have lots of nets, lots of technical discussions. They have a very active website. They have a very active membership, lots of people, lots of areas to learn and explore and have fun. I don't know much about the wind system. I just know that the, well, there's a guy by the name of Shorty, K6JSI, and he's been involved with the wind system for years. You can look it up, find out where the repeaters are. While I mention that, any of these, you can go online, you can go to papa.sys, P-A-P-A-S-Y-S, and you can learn all about the Papa system. You can ask for a guest membership, if you will. I think they give them to you for 30 days. You can get on, play, experiment, and meet the guys, attend the seminars. They've got the Zoom stuff going on, and then they've got all of the nets going on. So it's a very, very active system. Lots of connectivity, lots of repeaters, big area that you can deal with, pretty much Southern California. And the Papa system is run by Cecil, WD6FZA, and he's done great things. I think Papa stood for Pocket Auto Patch System, something like that. So way back when, there were a lot of, what am I trying to say? The phone, where the phones are connected to the repeaters, and you could hook up an auto patch and make phone calls from it. That was the big thing in the olden days. Cecil's done a great job. He has a great team of people working for him. Once again, membership is somewhere around 120 a year. as far as the Rabbit system goes, if anybody's interested in getting involved with the Rabbit system, you can talk to me and I can give you the details, and you can come on and experiment with it, play with it, and enjoy it. And then if you want to join, you can. Let's see. There's the Darn system, another group that I'm involved with. They are pretty much more down in the South Bay. I can get into the Darn system through Saddle Peak. They have 2 meters, 440, 220, and 1.2. So if you've got different radios, pretty much Rabbit system is all UHF connectivity. Papa system, I believe, has some 220 machines, but primarily UHF. And the Darn system has several 2 meters. I don't think you can get in on 6 meters, but 1.2. So there's lots of different ways to get in. I connect to them using my 1.2 radio. I could do it also on UHF. And that's run by Dick McKay, K6VGP. He's a retired United Airlines pilot and fairly technically knowledgeable, has a good team of workers. They also have a HF remote. So you can go in through the internet and get into a HF repeater, or excuse me, an HF radio, and operate the radio remotely. So that is kind of a quick little description of everything. Let me just see if there was anything else I wanted to mention. Oh, I didn't mention, and it wasn't on that list, but Pleasant Valley Amateur Radio Club. We've got Paul, WD6EBY. He's for many, many years been putting networks together. That's also a closed system, although I believe it's somewhat open. So if you want to use it, you can. But there is a club, and you can, send dues. If you can just envision all of these radios, all these mountaintops, there's a lot of cost involved in maintaining these, setting them up, and working them. Another distinction, the Rabbit is pretty much all RF. The Papa system has Echo Link, so you can get in through the internet. And I think Darn is as well. So what I would recommend, if you guys have an interest to get involved in one or more of these organizations, is to look them up, look at the website. The Rabbit website is not, it does exist. It's not really up to date, but if you want to learn more about that, I can help you with that. Cactus is online. The Papa system is online, and it's a very active website. And the Darn system is very active and online. So you could look at repeaters, you can look at frequencies, you can listen and see what you can hear. And once again, if you want to be a guest member, I can help you with Darn. I can help you with probably all of them, but Papa, it's pretty organized. You can go online and sign up, but Rabbit and Darn, I can probably help you with there. Let's see, and there are other systems out there. I'm just cherry picking the ones that are maybe more popular in my world. There are repeater guides that you can buy, you can download to your phone. the repeater directories. And so if you do that, you can see everything that's local, and there's a ton of them around here. And the other fun comes in is when you're traveling, you do a little research and figure out what repeaters you can hit. If you're on a closed system, you might be able to hit all of those, and then somebody can tell you where the best hamburger in town is. Just as an aside, having a radio in the car, I was headed to Lake Powell several years ago, and I was talking to a guy on Simplex. He was a few cars behind me, and this was a Sunday, and we were in St. George, and the water pump blew. And I said to him real quick, I said, I got to pull over, something's not right here. And 2 seconds later, he pulls up right behind me, and we identified as the water pump. He took my girlfriend at the time, took her into St. George, and within an hour and a half, there was a tow truck picking up the car, taking it into St. George. They had already found a water pump, and somebody had put it on, and we were back on the road. If it hadn't been for amateur radio, I might still be there looking for, a ride. But anyway, that is probably all the stuff I really wanted to cover. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections that anybody has for me?
Hi, Brad, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I must say I'm quite amazed by the complexity there. I was going to ask you, why these, let's say in the linking systems, they use effectively simplex frequencies from mountaintop to mountaintop. But now I understand why. So you can basically you can pick your path through to from your input to the endpoints, and so you have have much more effective airtime because you're sharing the bandwidth with less with less potential users. So I get that. It seems a pretty complex system to set up and manage. Is there any coordination of all these backhaul frequencies? It seems like they're mostly UHF from what you said, or maybe there's some on VHF as well.
So all the link repeaters for the systems that I'm talking about are all UHF that I know of. And so once again, yeah, it is pretty much a line of sight requirement. And all the frequencies are all coordinated. So you don't just pick a frequency and jump on and hook up. Mm-hmm. They're all coordinated and assigned to the different organizations. And so, I mean, if you think about all of these different repeaters and all these different signals, there's a lot of levels that you need to make sure are dead on, so that one's not blasting and the other one you can't hear. Mm-hmm. I mean, just speaking of like levels, there's antenna pointing. You've got to make sure your Yagi's pointing in the right direction. The other tricky thing, a lot of these are all on mountaintops. Some of these mountaintops. Oh, somebody got a message there. Some of these are, take Big Bear, for instance. It's just above the chair up at Big Bear, and it's up on a tower. And guess what? A lot of ice builds up, and ice falls and then hits antennas and breaks antennas, and now you got a problem. And you can't drive up to Big Bear in the winter. You have to go up on the bucket, and then you have to hike up a hill to the repeater site. And then are you wanting to climb a tower when it's got ice and snow and it's freezing? Probably not. So that can put you off the air for a while. We finally got smart and put our antennas up at Big Bear on the top of the tower, so no falling ice. But there's falling ice that comes down and hits the building, and hits coax, and that's all kind of nasty stuff. So it is a very complex system. I thought you were going to ask something like, we're in the 21st century. What the heck are we doing linking all these repeaters via RF? Why don't we just use the internet? Well, the internet, and some of them do that with the internet, but you got to have internet on the mountaintop, number one, available to you. And, is it going to be as reliable as RF? Well, who knows? But, that's kind of how it all got started. It probably all got started. It did get started way before the internet came into vogue. So, and plus the fact, we're amateurs, we're supposed to be playing with RF, not the internet. The gentleman that really it was the backbone of the Rabbit system was Emmett Dunlap, W6VO. He is a silent key that last year he passed away, but he was a firm believer that you connect up with RF, none of this internet stuff. So everybody has their own objective there. Any other questions? Or did I answer your question, Nancy?
Yeah, you did actually. Yeah, thanks. I'll jump in if another one, if I may. So these linked systems, is it a California thing, or are there linked systems across the country?
Well, the cactus system that I mentioned is across the country. So I don't know if you can see this, but that's the United States. And I guess California is over here. And you see all the dots and the lines. It's all connected. So it's out of California. Is that clear? So this is a very, very big system. And I used to connect to a guy, let's see, where was he? He was down in Texas, and he was a buddy that actually lived here. And so I would link up the cactus system all the way down to Texas, and then turn on a 2-meter remote in Texas and talk to him. And I also, to get him on, I would use a phone patch down at the end, down in his area, call him up on the phone over the radio and say, get on 2 meters. And then we'd chat. So, but you have to think about this. It's a big old system. And unless you start turning things off and on, the whole system lights up. So when you're on a network, when I key the Thousand Oaks machine for Rabbit, all of those other locations light up. So unless you turn the links off, and then you keep it more local. But for the most part, we leave everything linked together. And so, if 2 people want to talk at the same time, that's going to be a problem. You just wait your turn. All right. Other questions, other comments? Nathan.
Fix my mute here. When you were giving the example of using, I think it was the Rabbit system to get out from like Big Bear into here, what you described involved quite a lot of routing. Is that something you just kind of figure out with some experimentation, or like how much do the linked repeaters help you with figuring stuff out? If everything isn't switched on, is it a little bit like, what's it called? There's an IRLP where you can kind of request the number of the end node and it figures out how to get there, or?
No. So you have to control it. It's there isn't the automaticness like in DMR and D-Star, where you kind of, like, if you're out floating in space there on D-Star, I could put your call in, and if the D-Star system has heard you, it will route me to you automatically. With the Rabbit system, the Darn system, and the Papa system, that's all done through controlling. So like I said, the Rabbit system is typically, everything is lit up, everything is connected, except obviously the 2-meter remotes. So if I go on right now and transmit, I could talk to somebody in Big Bear that's listening. I didn't need to do anything. But we have what's known as site normals. So when you go into a repeater, well, I would go in and I would talk to, say, Thousand Oaks and make it normal. And then I might need to go to Chatsworth and make it normal if things were turned off. So when we're through playing and doing what we want to do and configuring the system the way we want, let's say that there's a bike race that we're trying to cover in the San Fernando Valley. Well, we might want to have Thousand Oaks and Chatsworth on, and we might want to turn the rest of the system off. And so that we could communicate the bike race from the valley to the Conejo Valley. And we just have those 2 repeaters on. When we're through playing, we would go in and do a site normal and make everything normal again so that you can make that contact. If I'm trying to come out on Bozo, then I have to go in, I have to turn on the receive of Bozo. I have to turn off a delay because there's a link delay system that you have to turn off. And then once I've listened and everything sounds cool, I can turn the transmitter on, and then I can transmit and make that connectivity. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, it was essentially about that contrast between some of the newer digital systems and the existing linked systems, and how much thinking overhead has to go in. Obviously, it means you can come up with new configurations on the fly, but you've got to think it through.
Yeah, which kind of makes it fun, because depending on what you're trying to do or what you're trying to accomplish, you could be turning things off and on. And if somebody's, let's say I've got the 2-meter remote on in Palos Verdes, and I'm talking to somebody down in Orange County on 2 meters, and the guys up in Big Bear don't want to listen to me. Well, Big Bear, they can just turn it off. They don't have to listen, And so, but they have to remember, because they control that. They need to turn it back on, or they're going to be isolated up there and not hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and every Sunday night, the Rabbit system has a check-in at 7:00 Sunday nights, and we call for people up in San Ynez, Santa Barbara, and then the Camarillo area, Thousand Oaks, San Fernando Valley, Simi Valley, Palos Verdes, out to Arcadia, down to Temecula, and up to Big Bear. So everybody's on and everybody's chatting.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Zach?
Will the systems allow us to use any of that for events, like a one-day event?
Sure. That's what it's all about. It's emergency equipment, and so yes, to answer your question.
So how would we get a listing of people to call for something like that?
Well, you could start with me as long as I'm around. If you can find me, I'm never on the radio, but I do have a phone.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could run the Saturday night board net from Big Bear when I go up there in October.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, just to muddy the water, there's a 2-meter repeater. I'm also a member of the Big Bear Amateur Radio Club. And there's a repeater up there, 147.330, which is a 2-meter repeater. So I can turn the 2-meter remote on in Big Bear and latch it into the system. And then I could go into Chatsworth and turn on Bozo. So you could be up there in the 2-meter repeater and talk to everybody down here on Bozo. So
Wow.
things you have to watch out for is that you don't want to create a loop and then you got a problem, and then trying to control it becomes somewhat problematic. The
RF
other thing
feedback.
is, realistically, if you're driving around and controlling the repeaters, you know, it's potentially disastrous, because you might do something and then get out of the range of that repeater and not be able to control it. And then you have to call your friends, and you know, they have to be able to fish you out. But once again, I can control everything here for Big Bear, and vice versa, and any combination thereof. All right, questions. Keith has got to have one.
So if you notice that somebody has in fact fallen out of range to put their toys back on the shelf, you can just renormalize the settings for every station, even from your home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So,
and without internet, which I think is the key to not having the automatic routing either, is that if you get automatic routing, you're cheating.
right.
Internet.
And you know, this is what the system will do. Is there a lot of that going on? No. But you know, it does take a little button pushing, a little research, a little practice to make it all go. But back to Zach's question, there is a big bike race that goes on up in Big Bear. And so we'll take Big Bear offline, and then they can use that, and we'll link it into the 2-meter machine. So if you're up there and you can't get into the 2-meter machine, but you could get into the 440 machine, you can all talk. And you can conduct the race all the way around the lake. We've done stuff down in Palos Verdes, you know, different events. So yeah, it's there, and you know, really can link things in. Other questions?
Well, I'm curious. I was monitoring Grissom 224 the other day, and I'm hearing people from South Bay, and I mean, that has to be some kind of linkage going on. Is that part of any of these networks? Are these little outlying link repeater systems floating around?
Okay, so what you're listening to, and that's Bill Hughes's machine, the Grissom 220. Is that the one you're referring to?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's the 224.7 machine. Hold on one second. Somebody's at the door.
I believe that's part of Papa Network. And then it gets unlinked on Tuesday nights for local use by the ACS for our check-in networks.
Oh.
Yeah, I can remember using the Condor network back in the 80s. That was great.
KF6 GJH has recently started becoming active with Papa, and he's just all day long on the 220.
Okay, so let me get back to that. And I have a painter here, so I'm going to have to cut fairly short here. And then you can get your questions, and at any time ask me. I'll be happy to answer them. But Pat, so you're listening to Bill's machine, which is a part of the Papa system. And we take that offline for the ACS check-ins for the locals. And so that's how that works. That's what you're listening to. You're listening to the Papa system. Once again, I'd encourage you to go online and Google the different groups and look at the repeaters, look at the rules, you know, embellish what I kind of said, I've been talking about. And, but that's what you're hearing, Pat.
Okay.
Anybody else?
That sounds good. We're going to have to talk, as I go up to Big Bear a lot.
You do?
Oh yeah, been going up there probably 20 years
Oh, yeah,
or more.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
we'll talk.
yeah, and
Okay.
I think it would be a kick if come October when I go up there to be able to do the Saturday night board net from Big Bear.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we can pull that off. And whereabouts in Big Bear do you hang out, or do you have a place?
No, I don't have a place. Well, we used to a long time ago, but I don't have a place anymore. But we just rent a cabin usually, um, sometimes up by the zoo,
Okay,
up that
that's where our
ridge,
cabin is, and
Blue
the
Ridge.
theater is right on top of Geronimo.
Yeah, but we're looking at a cabin right now. It's going to be on the North Shore
Okay.
for this time when we go up. I take my brother up every year, but then we go up other
Oh,
times.
great, great. Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah,
I hate to run, guys, but it's been fun. I hope you picked up something. Put your questions together, and there's a good chance you'll see me again, and you can ask.
Thanks, Brad.
All right.
thank you, Brad.
Thanks to everybody
Bye-bye.
for being here. And we all know how to get a hold of Brad if there's more. If anybody's watching this and has questions and doesn't know how to get a hold of Brad, YouTube should have an email there for contacting the club or contacting me. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think Brad's on almost every frequency all the time.
Yes. Okay.
I forget where I was. I was in the valley and I was on some obscure. I thought it was obscure frequency, and Brad's there. Hey Ed.
Okay. So anyway, thanks to everybody for watching, and thanks for coming to class this week.